From our studios in beautiful Mandan, North Dakota, along the mighty Missouri River, here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
National Astronaut Day is approaching fast, so we are going to talk about all things astronauts and space. Astronaut Dr. David Wolf will be joining us on the show later, along with Annie Bolero, I have to pronounce.
Or is it Bolero?
Bolero, B-A-L-L-I-R-O. Bolero? Bolero.
Bolerio?
We're going to have to ask her when she calls in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do that. But she's the founder of the Unified Space Agency, so it'll be kind of exciting to talk to her. She's also the founder of National Astronaut Day. At the control panel, producer extraordinaire Jim Walsh.
Not an astronaut, though.
Yeah, we did. It's kind of cool. Oh, she's not an astronaut.
No, I'm not.
You're not an astronaut.
I'm not an astronaut.
Did I introduce you as an astronaut?
It's all about me. No.
Hey, I'm not hearing you today. Let's see here.
How about now?
Well, it's a little better.
Turn you up there.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying, I'm really good at lip reading, but
I
not
think
that
the
great.
impedance on these headphones here is a little low. You have to kind of turn it. Plus, I'm deaf anyway.
Well,
I tend not to when I'm sharing the headphone jack. I don't want to turn it up too loud,
right?
Because I'm deaf. I mean, I like it loud, but not everybody does.
Right, exactly. So, have you ever talked to an astronaut before?
Yes, I have.
Really?
There was a fellow, I'm trying to remember his name, Terry somebody. He was from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
When I lived and worked in Allentown, Pennsylvania in the early 80s. He was from, I think, Lehigh University. He had attended Lehigh, and he was in the program, and he went up on one of the shuttles.
Very cool.
And I did a very quick interview with him one Saturday afternoon. We were at some wingding event in the Allentown area.
Yep. So have you always been fascinated by astronauts?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I'm actually old enough to remember John Glenn.
Very cool. On his first ever
that big solo flight.
Right. Right.
He was the first American to actually do a full orbit around the planet.
I believe we'll find out later on about National Astronaut Day, but I believe that has something to do with John Glenn. So.
And I remember the moon, of course. The first moon landing and Apollo 13 and the others.
Right.
One where the guy was hitting golf balls on the moon. That was another one.
Just received a medallion, actually, from Alice's brother had recently passed away, Mike, and he collected all of these coins and medallions and stuff. And he had a medallion from July 20th, 1969.
Oh.
The moon landing. Yeah. I was just like, oh, my
We're coming
goodness.
up on the 50-year anniversary of that.
Isn't that
it's been
something?
50 years, close to 50 years since we've been to the moon.
Yeah. That's just amazing when you think about it.
And we haven't gone back yet.
Well, we went back a couple times. I mean, I think the last time we were on the moon was in 72.
December 72.
Yeah. That seems amazing that, with today's technology that we haven't gone back. But with that said, there is a scheduled moon mission next year.
Next year.
And that's with SpaceX. Elon Musk. He actually has two individuals that have stepped forward that want to go to the moon.
Well, I know they're talking about the Mars thing, doing the Mars mission.
Right. So, but they're actually, Elon Musk has stated that they're not going to land on the moon. They're just going to orbit the moon, right?
Okay.
So then, and they're talking about doing this later in the year, next year, so 2018. And what's so funny about that is that the Space Launch System, it's called SLS for short, that NASA's coming out with, they were going to actually just put it in orbit next year.
Yeah.
And then Elon Musk comes out and says that they're going to go around the moon. And then NASA states that they're going to go, okay, I guess we'll go around the moon.
Okay.
So we might actually see a couple opportunities next year where we're going to be going around the moon.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's not a big deal now. That's what's so funny about it. I mean, it really is a big deal.
Well, it is. Oh, very much so.
But they're treating it like, Mars is the big deal now. The moon is just
there's a danger in taking it for granted.
Right.
I mean, if you think of Apollo 13.
Exactly.
By that time, everybody was getting a little blasé about it, and then all of a sudden, what? They're in trouble?
Yeah. That's exactly
Then people
right.
got interested again.
Yeah. So it is interesting that there's a lot of talk about it. I know that, I know a lot of people talk about how much money we spend on space travel and that type of thing, but this is probably the one instance in government where the government's actually doing things that actually help the private sector.
And
Just
a lot of
tons
people
of
still
stuff.
don't understand that.
They do not understand
They have
that.
a very vague concept that the technology is supposed to be helping us, that there are things whatever inventions, maybe, I don't know, microwave ovens, whatever, that came out of the space program.
Right. There are many, and I think it's been a couple of years since you and I have done a show on, the tech that we use in modern day life now because of space travel. But probably the most, and probably I just love this story. When the space shuttle, when it was starting to land on the runways, the astronauts couldn't see the landing strip. So they had to come up with a way that they would be notified if the craft were to veer off the landing strip a little bit, right? So they created rumble strips.
Oh, okay.
That we now have on almost every road in the country,
highways,
right?
Yeah.
And the roads that have them have a significant decrease in the amount of accidents and deaths.
Right.
So just that one simple little thing has saved thousands and thousands of lives.
Well, supposedly there have been advances in medical research because of what they can do with their samples, their specimens in zero gravity.
It's funny you bring that up.
Oh.
Because Dr. Wolf will be talking about that.
Now, what kind of doctor is he?
He is a medical doctor.
He is a real doctor.
He's
not a PhD, a phony doctor.
He's not.
Okay.
He holds 17 patents on three-dimensional tissue generation.
Tissue generation, okay.
That he has experimented with in zero Gs. And there's something about this. So we're going to talk to him in depth about this.
Amazing.
So yeah, and I don't want to take a lot of time talking about things while we have him on the air. So I'm going to go through his bio right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, if that's okay. So I'm just going to read this off. David Alexander Wolf is an American astronaut, medical doctor, electrical engineer. Considered the father of the space bioreactor, he led the team developing this tissue engineering methodology now used for state-of-the-art cancer research and regenerative medicine on Earth, as well as demonstrating the future advantages when conducted in microgravity. It's amazing you just brought that up out of the blue, Jim.
Yeah.
He is also a Russian cosmonaut.
Oh.
Conducting all training and a long-duration 128-day mission on the Russian Mir space station.
But he's not Russian.
He's not Russian.
Okay.
He's
taking his time.
Yeah. But he served and then spoke Russian while he was on there.
I think we have a phone call here. It might be him.
It might be.
Good morning, Super Talk 1270. Hello.
I may be a couple minutes early. It's David Wolf.
Good morning, Dr. Wolf.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Doing quite well.
Yes.
Marlo, why don't you take it from here?
I will do that. I was just actually going through your bio, Doctor, and I'm going to embarrass you now while you're on the air, as a matter of fact, because I was just reading about some of the things. So
the other line is ringing here.
All
by
right,
the way.
so let's bring
go ahead
Annie
and grab
in.
that. Hi, Super Talk
That must be
1270.
Annie.
Hello.
Hey!
Oh.
Hey, Annie. All right, so Jim, why don't we do this? Let's just go to break. Can we do that?
Yeah, we're going to patch everybody in together here.
Okay.
So it'll be one big happy family.
All right, so let's bring everybody, we'll patch everybody in, we'll go to break, and when we come back, we will have Annie and the doctor.
Everybody hang on. We'll come back in about 3 minutes,
All right.
guys. Thank you.
Right now, 50.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we want to thank everybody who follows us around the country and across the world and maybe even in space. On the Blueberry Network, we're also on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. We're on iTunes, Tuned In, Roku, Apple TV, and, of course, our own app, Radio Pup.
Radio Pup.
So all kinds of places that you can catch the Tech Ranch live, or if you want to listen to it again in the future, you can do that as well. We have some great guests today. Annie Bolero, she is the president, CEO, founder of Unify Good, Unify Space Agency. Unify represents an incredible roster of talent, and in the music, celebrity, and lifestyle arena, our management team has over 25 years of experience representing clients and projects. Unify Space Agency, a division of Unify Good, is a management and branding agency specializing with astronauts and space-related business opportunities. We'll have a link to Annie's website and things at thetechranch.com and also at Supertalk 1270. And, of course, I was getting into the bio of... Let's see. So, Jim, I'm going to say it's astronaut Dr. Wolf.
Okay.
And are you going to say Dr. Astronaut Wolf, or do you think I'm right with the astronaut Dr. Wolf?
Well, I was just going to I'll address him as Dr. Wolf.
Okay, well, we will do that.
Appropriate to me.
All right, so Dr. Wolf.
Yeah.
All right, so we're having a little bit of a deliberation here.
Most people call me Dave.
All right.
Dave.
Well, then we'll call you Dave as well. But properly, since you're very, very unique in this, there aren't a lot of people who are astronauts and doctors.
Yeah.
So what title comes first?
I've never thought about it that carefully. The way I generally write it last.
You put the astronaut last.
It's only because it looks better on the paper that way.
I gotcha. That's very, very cool. All right. Well, we're so excited to have you on the show. It's National Astronaut Day coming up in a couple days, and I guess I'm going to I'll tell you what we did. We threw up some question, or we put some stuff on Facebook and asked people if they wanted to ask some questions of you. So I have a few of those questions with today as well. So I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
Okay, wonderful,
Space
wonderful.
questions. If I don't know it, Annie will.
That's perfect. I love it. So we're going to go right back to you, Annie. So why May 5th for National Astronaut Day?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Marlo, for having us on, Jim, having us on today. And it is absolutely my pleasure to be here with Dr. Wolf, as I like to call him, if I'm not calling him Wolfie or something else. We're thrilled to be here today. National Astronaut Day is something that we were so honored to be able to establish, to be able to really celebrate astronauts. And in a lot of ways, the way I had to position it to a lot of folks on our roster was it wasn't even so much a celebration of them as individuals, but it's really about what astronauts mean to all of us and how they inspire future generations. The date of May 5th was selected because in 1961, Alan Bartlett Shepard Jr. became America's first astronaut aboard the Freedom 7 space capsule. That was literally the first day that an American basically went into space. So for us, that just really seemed like such a symbolic day, and that was really the appropriate day to really celebrate these heroes.
Absolutely. And so were you amazed, as I was, I guess, last year when we were starting to work on this, that there was not a National Astronaut Day before?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, it was even on the Today Show. There was this amazing segment they did, and the host, Matt Lauer, and a couple of the other folks kept batting around saying, hey, why didn't anybody do this sooner? And, you really think about the way we're approaching it this year is a little bit different. We're just really trying to have a little bit of fun with it. So all day on May 5th, there'll be a series of Facebook Live events with astronauts, various partners of ours that want to celebrate the day, talking about things like how the Fisher Space Pen is made as part of our astronaut signature series. Some of our clients are going to go through the eclipse coming up. We have vendors that actually make different parts of the space shuttle that will be doing tours of their plant. Space Camp is going to do a tour of their museum, so a little bit of peek behind the curtain. But also what we're doing that day is a full-on social media campaign where we've basically pulled just about every reference to an astronaut throughout pop culture, history, celebrating the folks on our roster, celebrating astronauts in general. And when you really see how entrenched astronauts are, not just in our culture, but just really as inspiring individuals in our world, it's really shocking that it did not exist. So for me, truly, I'm thrilled it didn't exist, because for me it is nothing short of an honor to be able to have us be the ones to really kind of just, move forward with celebrating astronauts.
And I know, all the things that you have going on this year. I was checking out over the weekend. You have an incredible poster that everybody can download and print as well, right?
Oh, isn't that so great? I love the poster. We really, again, took a different approach to it this year because, our goal, we really try to do as much free stuff as we can, and we're really trying to encourage families, teachers, students, and anyone, any of our youth that might be interested in space exploration, science, learning, STEM or STEAM education. So we commissioned this really fun poster this year by a great artist who does quite a few children's books. And the whole idea really is to try to have something that hopefully kids will put up on their walls or teachers may put up in the classroom. Our whole theme this year is believe in yourself, but also to be you. And that is something that really came from all the astronauts on our roster. When we asked everyone, this is a very collaborative holiday, so we do include all of our astronauts in what the messaging is, and Dr. Wolf has been very integral in actually helping us craft this holiday from day one. And one of the things that everybody seemed to say was, you know, if you want to be an astronaut, don't actually try to be an astronaut first. Excel in whatever field you excel in best. Be yourself, do your best, and excel in that craft. And then think about becoming an astronaut, because astronauts come from a wide range of backgrounds. So if you try to just be an astronaut, that's probably not the best approach. So the idea of believe in yourself and be you was really something that we wanted to encourage kids to do as part of this year's campaign.
That's great advice. It really is. And I guess when I was a youngster aspiring to be an astronaut, I would have never thought of that. But as I read through bios of astronauts now, that is more and more evident all the time. So great advice. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit and go over and talk to Dr. Wolf. And I have a couple of personal questions first, Dr. Wolf, and then I'm going to get into some of the questions that we've had some of our listenership send in to us. So now you're both an astronaut and a cosmonaut. How many people have that title?
I believe 6 or 7, maybe 7.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So when you were training,
actually, if you go back in history, there may be a couple more.
Okay.
But in the shuttle station era, and these occurred due to a joint program to get ready for the International Space Station that's flying now.
Okay.
And this was a joint program, an exchange program, if you will, where 7 of our astronauts went to Russia and flew on the Russian space station, to which the Americans had placed a few modules, laboratory modules, so it was a joint program. And then we got ready to do the International Space Station. We didn't want to start cold on the international program until we had relationships.
Gotcha. All
built on trust. Mutual trust and respect is what was the essence of it.
So what was the training, how different was it, going from an astronaut to a cosmonaut?
I would say the language was the roughest. It's amazing the similarities more than the differences in 2 programs that evolved separately, and one focused on space stations, the Russians, and one focused on shorter-term access like the space shuttle, heavy payloads. And they joined up just perfect. It turned out they were complementary, even down to the wastewater the shuttle made from its fuel cells when it burnt cryogenic oxygen and hydrogen, catalyzed together to make water and power, electrical power.
Okay.
That water was waste for the shuttle. We dumped it overboard, and instead it went over to the station and filled up its water tanks. So the vehicles worked great together in that and many other ways.
Interesting.
And we have a powerful Earth orbit program now.
Jim, did you have a question related to that too?
I was going to say, well, we'll come back to it. I was going to ask about some of the other countries that are trying to develop space programs. China. Now, didn't China put a man in space not too long ago?
Well, they've done quite a bit of strong space activities. One thing was interesting. In Russia, they would put the internationals kind of together to work on their language. We didn't have to sit in the room, but the Chinese were training there. And we would talk together in Russian. I didn't know Chinese. They didn't know English, but we could talk in Russian. And several other internationals. And they have a good space program, and it follows along the lines of the basic architecture of the Russian program.
Okay.
Not to be stereotypical about it or stereotyping, but you would think that the Chinese would be extraordinary at all the math and physics skills.
I can't exactly vouch for that. We're extraordinary also.
Oh, okay.
I love that answer, too. That's
I guess you're all extraordinary.
They are. They're just all extraordinary. So, so I have, what about, you have amazing medical training as well, and I know you've used a lot of that in your time while in space, but have you ever had to actually use your medical training for other than research while you were in space?
In space?
Yes.
quite a few times, actually. Nothing real major, but I've given stitches. I've, eye drops, gotten things out of people's eyes they couldn't get out, antibiotics for infections, all the routine stuff.
Okay, but nothing too major at all.
No.
I've never had a major thing to face.
Okay.
No heart bypass surgery or anything like that.
No. We have a pretty good medical facility up there. In fact, I was the chief engineer of it before I was an astronaut.
Let me ask
I was
one
there 9 years.
Let me ask one more question, and I hope this is not another dumb question. But, on that TV show, Big Bang Theory, when one of the characters went into space, he didn't deal with it very well psychologically.
Right.
Howard
Wolowitz, yeah. Has that ever happened? And you don't have to, I'm not asking you to name names, but has it ever happened in real life that one of the guys got up there and he started to, come unglued a little bit and like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here?
There are certain things that shall remain forever, even in the presence of unified good, in the annals of astronaut lore.
What happens in space stays in space.
Thank you.
And on that note,
we'll go to break, everybody. Hopefully, both Annie and Dr. Wolf can continue our conversation after the break here.
Right now, 50.
News and Views with Joel Heitkamp. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And joining us from the Unified Space Agency, Annie Bolero. And, of course, we also have not just a medical doctor, not just an electrical engineer. He's also an astronaut.
A space guy.
Dr. Wolf. We're so, again, just elated to have you both on our show today. And we'll just continue our conversation. What are the significance of the patches that are made for each mission?
David, do you want to take that one related to your missions, or do you want me to take a pass at it with what we've been doing?
I'm going to pass it.
Okay, cool.
I'll pass it
well,
to you,
it's pretty amazing. If you look at the different space patches throughout history, there have been several incredible artists that are commissioned to help really identify each mission related to not only the astronauts that will participate, but also some sort of iconic imagery. One thing that we're actually doing with National Astronaut Day that we are very fortunate to have Tim Gagnon, who has designed over a dozen space patches for NASA. He designed the first ever National Astronaut Day patches last year, and this year we did the same. So this year's patches are related to a little bit of a focus on Mars exploration, and then also we did a mission patch, which this year relates to going to the moon, and then really encompasses all of the different logos, the iconic logos used for different missions throughout history. So it's a pretty cool thing. The space patch business is a very collectible kind of cool idea, and this year we're also making decals that are going to be available free to kids that they can log into our website, and we will send them all free stickers and decals related to the patches.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's very cool. So is there an age limit to the kids, Annie?
No. As we always say, especially related to anything with space or astronauts, kids of all ages are welcome.
Jim and I are already signing up. I'm just telling you right now. So Dr. Wolf, on a little more on the serious side here. So you're considered the father of the space bioreactor. So can you explain to somebody who has no idea what that is, what the space bioreactor does?
Yeah, easy. First of all, I have seen some expressions a lot like Wolowitz in space. The reactor is a way we take advantage of zero gravity to do processes, scientific research and processes that can't be done in the presence of gravity, or at least expose principles that we can then use in gravity. And in this case, in zero gravity, we can grow human tissue outside the body in 3 dimensions. Since it's not falling to the bottom, it's floating. It's much like the womb. It's actually kind of eerie looking. And the cells organize 3-dimensionally, and we can grow human tissue, whether it's cancerous or normal, so that it behaves more like it does in the real human for more improved research. It's clear that you need accurate tissue. So we grow more accurate three-dimensional tissue instead of a monolayer, just a flat layer of cells that does not correctly represent tissue in the human body.
So where do you see this? Now, I know you have 17 patents as well on this, and we're going to get into the business side of this in a little bit, but where do you see this really going? I mean, I guess I kind of label my...
changing the face of medicine forever. One of the companies I'm involved in now intends to put out the first FDA-approved living medicine, and it's based on these principles and actually another step forward. But this was a revolutionary step our team made, and only a place like NASA that brings the multiple disciplines together very non-traditionally can you have this kind of innovation. And it's a very fertile place for innovation because we literally think out of the box, even out of the gravity box. Everyone considers that a fixed constant. It's really a variable to us that everyone else considers a constant, and we can get wonderful results. That's what the space station's all about. That's what the astronauts today do on the space station largely is research, seizing advantage of the lack of gravity, the absence of gravity.
Now, I know that, and I say this a lot about the space program, I will say I'm not big on a lot of different types of government programs, and we won't get into the politics of things today, but the one thing I know is that the money we spend on NASA, the return on investment on that program is absolutely astonishing. I mean, there are so many things. We've dedicated shows on the Tech Ranch here just to the innovations that we use on the Earth side of things in everyday life. We talk about the rumble strips that we now have on our roads because the space shuttle put them along the sides of the runway when they're landing so that they could feel the edge of the runway. So I mean,
how about the GPS in your phone and that's used constantly? Those are based on satellite and electronic technology.
Absolutely.
Driven by that program. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere around us, and it's like a fish in the water. It's so around us we don't even see it, but many people appreciate it as you spoke about it.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by the technology that comes out of NASA. So you're leading me into a little bit of a different direction here, but I'm really curious about living medicine. Tell me a little bit more about that.
We are in a transition toward biologicals. And more complex molecules is already occurring in the pharmaceutical industry, and soon they will be living groups of molecules, essentially living cells as part of the medicine. I'm avoiding the word stem cell because this is more of a regenerative process. Yes, there are some stem cells in it. That is not enough to make it work, and we are seizing upon the future of medicine. We intend to draw up the future of medicine. This is the kind of vision that you live with in a space program. You turn things that aren't true into things that are true, and that's what our next generation needs to be doing. And then we'll have fun at it, whether they realize it now or not.
So
I like this business part of it and bringing these things to commercial availability just as much as I liked going in space doing them.
That's pretty
and
cool.
On the ground before that.
And I just want to clarify one thing. So when we're talking three-dimensional tissue engineering, we're not talking about 3D printing of tissue. I mean, these are two separate technologies.
That is one way of obtaining three-dimensional tissue, and there is a role for 3D printing.
There is.
Kind of like you don't use one machine to build a car. You have different tools, and among those tools is the simulated microgravity technology that we do that emulates the process in space by fluid dynamic control that gives you the correct conditions to emulate what we get in space. Now you can go much farther in space, but we've shown that you can go a long way on Earth, real long way.
That's absolutely amazing.
Outcome. You don't need a laboratory in space. We actually learned how to do it by planning to do it in space. We learned how to do it. Just the planning was enough to get us out of the box in our thinking.
So I'm going to change gears on you a little bit again.
About what we would get. When we thought, what will we get when we go to space? And then we thought how to achieve that on the ground as a prediction. It led to a breakthrough.
Gotcha. So, and I don't mean to keep changing gears. We just have such limited amount of time, and I have so many things I want to ask you here. So they describe you as a veteran of spacewalks. You've actually been on 7 different spacewalks. So tell me about the experience the first time you were on a spacewalk and how different it was on your 7th.
Yes. Well, the first time was in a Russian spacesuit as a cosmonaut, and I came out of the Mir space station, and things went pretty good. There was a collision some months earlier that we were trying to repair. We'd lost a module with a cargo ship, and coming back in, well, what happened is it was night when I came out, and I was fine. I was floating around by my fingertips, and then the daylight hit about 20 minutes later, and I saw everything down there, hundreds of miles, moving at 5 miles per second, and you kind of clutch and grab on them. I'm thinking, how could I have 10 seconds ago been floating by my fingertips, and now I can't hold on tight enough, and I stopped holding on. So tight like that. So it's a bit strange coming out. Every time you come out of the airlock, it feels odd for a while. And the 7th time, you just get used to it quicker, and you're more concerned about your partner than you.
Okay.
Who's usually much newer at it.
Did you have a lot of apprehension the first time you went out?
No, I couldn't wait.
Okay.
Now, coming in was a problem since the airlock didn't repressurize, and we were stuck for about 14 hours into our last minute of survival.
Ooh.
And we ditched off the checklist, but we made it. But we did get to stare down that last minute of life.
Wow. That sounds like a whole nother show just right there.
And there's a great snippet of what this was. If you go to Dr. Wolf's webpage at earthtomorrow.net, you can actually listen to a whole story of him reciting what happened there.
Say that again, Annie. What's the website?
Earthtomorrow.net.
All right, earthtomorrow.net. All right, everybody, we are at break again. We will continue the conversation with Annie and Dr. Wolf right after this.
We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. Thank you.
Currently, it's 52.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we're blessed by the presence of Annie Bolaro, who is the founder of the Unified Space Agency, as well as the founder of National Astronaut Day, along with electrical engineer David Alexander Wolf, who's also a medical doctor. Oh, I forgot to mention he's also spent 4,040 hours in space. So I guess he qualifies as an astronaut as well. Yeah,
I would say so.
So, but that goes back to Annie's comments about, maybe not training to be an astronaut first, excel at what you do.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And then go for the space thing, I think.
So all the astronauts became something else first.
Right.
So is there
passion?
So if we're really good at what we do right now, Dr. Wolf, Jim and I just speaking into
talking
a microphone.
On the radio.
Yeah. Is there a possibility we could get in space someday?
Well, there's a possibility. The technology's there, if you will. I doubt the infrastructure is there unless you're going to be able to afford the ticket on the commercial flights that are coming out. And, for example, SpaceX and the other several companies that are, I don't mean they're also ramps, they're excellent also. And we are depending on them accessing low Earth orbit so that we can free up NASA resources to get deeper in space. Mars, like Annie said, we're starting to look toward Mars as the next big target.
So I know that SpaceX has stated, that next year they're going to actually circle around the moon. And then NASA came out a little bit later and stated that they're going to use the new SLS to do something similar. Are both of those still on track, do you know?
That second one you said, SLS, like the Space Launch System.
That's correct,
Ares.
yes.
Right.
So that Ares system, the Space Launch System, is the Mars Deep Space Program. It will do some shorter hops for practice and test. And that, as far as I understand, it's just not exactly determined what that test sequence is, but it is clear that it will engage some loop around the moon just to get you into some deeper space outside the Van Allen belts into the open radiation and get the conditions similar and get the reentry conditions similar, because you come in a bit hotter when you come in from deep space than the space shuttle did. We came in around Mach 25, and they'll probably be up around Mach 27.
Okay. Interesting.
What about using the moon as the launching point for the Mars mission? I've heard about that.
You have to look at an architecture and engineering as a systems program, and if that makes sense in a systems analysis, it's on the table. There are people that believe it should be. Personally, and only personally, I haven't quite seen the linkage to the complete system, but I don't deny it's there. It may make sense to stop, but to just say you're going to go to the moon and use it as a launch pad, it only makes sense when you put it in a systems engineering framework and draw out exactly where it makes sense. Where are you going to save fuel? Where are you going to save mass? What advantage for safety? Those kinds of things have to be quantified.
Okay. Well, here's something on a little lighter note from one of our listeners. How often can you shower above the International Space Station?
In the International Space Station?
Yes.
None. There's no shower, but you can get clean. And it's a bit, the trick in staying clean is not losing the pieces like your soap and your toothbrush and the toothpaste. It's all there. And that's the trick to living in space. You have to stick everything down. That's where moon gravity and Mars will be extra fun, because you get the benefit of being able to fly, because you can take big hops. And you can put things down. Living in zero gravity is a real hassle, because you can't lay anything down.
Sure.
So you can get clean with this soap that's rinseless, and if you have time to get clean is the problem. You don't take that many showers, really.
I see.
You don't change clothes that often.
Interesting. All right, something a little more serious thing, and especially since you've spent so much time in space, this actually impacts you probably more than almost every other human being on the planet. The time dilation effect. Are you familiar? I'm guessing you're familiar with this.
You're talking about special relativity, time dilation that goes along with space contraction.
The twins paradox, right?
Yes, I'm very familiar. So how much do you think we come back younger?
Yeah.
Well, or you just haven't aged as much.
We come back younger than we would have otherwise.
Yes.
We're still older than we left.
Right.
We don't come back younger than we started. But as compared to what we would be if we stayed on Earth, I'm going to have to estimate. I'm going to only estimate here. I am familiar with the theory. It's probably in the range of several hundred nanoseconds.
Yeah.
That means several hundred times 10 to the minus 9.
Okay.
To get a relativistic effect at 18 or so thousand miles an hour, it's a pretty small effect as compared to the speed of light.
Right.
186,000 miles per second. So you have to get appreciable to the speed of light to see time dilation quickly.
Well, Jim, you were right on the money there.
Then the problem is the sudden stop and start. How do you get up to that kind of speed and get slowed down again? That's a lot of acceleration and deceleration. So when you start to look at what a body has to go through to actually do it, it starts to be more than a theory if you thought about doing the trip.
Yeah.
So you're saying that there might actually be more wear and tear on the human body, and you'll age quicker because of that than the benefit that you would get by the time dilation effect.
That would be a good hypothesis, that the benefits would, whatever milliseconds you could shave, but you might be able to shave, in theory, you could shave years and years, 100. You could come back, and it might be thousands of years in the future. That's theoretically very possible, and within the range of special relativity. It doesn't take wormholes or anything to do time dilation. It doesn't even take gravity, except due to the acceleration to get started and stop.
Right.
And actually, that's where the effect is coming from if you must get picky.
That's amazing, actually. Absolutely amazing. So what about moon pigeons?
Moon pigeons?
Jim's looking at me like, what are moon pigeons?
You better tell Annie and I about moon pigeons.
Well, okay, so I've referred to them as, I've heard them as space pigeons as well. Just instances of light that you see in space that may not equate to anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a known effect. When it's that same radiation field, we fly purposely below the Van Allen belt as an umbrella for radiation. It gets funneled off into the northern and southern lights, the auroras. And we fly but just below that, although we can see it real well. It feels like you're flying through it, and you kind of are. But part of that radiation is heavy nuclei, like iron nuclei going 0.9 the speed of light. Intergalactic cosmic rays are these charged, high-speed nuclei. Well, those now and then go through your retina, and they leave a trail of sparks.
You actually see a trail of sparks.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
And you mostly notice it at night when it's dark. When you made it be night.
Okay. Wasn't there a case one time, or is it an urban legend, that there was one of the Apollo missions where they reported some bizarre apparitions appearing outside the capsule, and what it turns out was it was residue from when they emptied the washroom.
Right. So we see a lot out there, and so this is that topic of unidentified objects.
Right.
We see tons of them. One time we saw a flashing light, what looked like in the great distance, and it was there for days. We could see it at night, and it was flashing. And we finally got a telescope on it after a few days, and it was a paint ship off of some old booster that was rotating, like a hand-sized paint ship.
Right.
It was glinting off the sun. And so it looked like a perfect beacon. So you see a lot of stuff you can't explain that comes off your spacecraft or off debris from others. But as far as intelligent life or some kind of being that tried to come there, I think it would be totally arrogant to believe we're the only living things, kind of a pre-Copernican type of thought pattern where we're the center of the universe. Can't be true. But our odds of meeting them, if you look at the size of space-time, our odds of running into them are like zero.
Interesting. So, Dr. Wolf,
zeros after the decimal point.
We probably only have about a little over a minute left here. So, if you could pick one experience in all of your space travels to talk about, what would be the one thing that you would share with people?
So I'd try to stay away from a personal thing, and although people want that inspiration. In fact, you mentioned ROI, return on investment. I like to call it return on inspiration. It's almost invaluable to measure beyond that other investment. I like the discovery part, and we made some with nerve tissue in the bioreactor that I'd been a part of developing, as you know, years before. And to have that kind of closure and bring home the goods for the team really felt good.
All right. Well, I hate to say this, but we are out of time. Dr. Wolf, Annie, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. We'd love to have you on again sometime if you have time in the future. We'll have the show up shortly at thetechranch.com at Super Talk, and we'll have all the links to everything that we talked about as well, everybody. Thanks again.